Hi everyone, it's Cassandra Williamson. How are you doing today? Yeah, I'm tired. Done everything in my power to stay awake. But some things we need to talk about. This has been a powerful day on the world stage. This week, this weekend has been a powerful weekend on the world stage. And yesterday, Monday, was powerful. So very exciting, very powerful things happening. And so what do we do about all this stuff, right? How do we help forward? That's it. So let me turn off my other screen over here because I'm staring at stuff from LinkedIn. I don't need to do that right now. All right, so behind me back here, that's a picture of my mom right here in the corner. The little Naval Academy thing. It's a little plaque thing I got decades and decades ago. Here in the middle, that would be my grandparents. That's Gideon and Eva Blevins Williamsons. The picture was taken sometime in like 1928 in Mingo County, West Virginia. And then up here's a picture of my grandparents on mom's side, and mom's one of the small children that's in that photo there as well. So let me see who's calling really quick. Let me see if I can take this one. Hold on a second. Hi, can I help you? Hello? Don't know what that was. That was garbled up, wasn't it? Anyway, so yeah, let's see where to start today. The first thing I want to talk about is this. We have an opportunity to set the record straight on a lot of things. We have, as trans people, we have been just sitting back doing nothing and letting the right dictate a narrative that tries to define us out of existence, that calls us delusional and all that kind of stuff. So what you're looking at is a way to perceive things, this perspective taking. And whenever they tell us that we are just men or just women or whatever, people over on the right, they're primarily looking at it from a genetic side or what you were observed to have at birth. And they're ignoring a lot of the science behind all of it, but that's fine. That's fine. They're entitled to that view because that view is actually right. But what they neglect to say is that the opposite view is also true, where you have on one side, you may have that little square and the orange blob right there, or the square inside the green blob in the upper or lower section of that image. You have people who see the world through the lens of just genetic science or just observed anatomical sex. But it's also true that gender is part of that identity. It's a Januszian thing, okay? So you can't get wrapped up in all of that and just claim that that's all that matters, that your side is right and the other one wrong, or that they're right and you're wrong, or any of those things. These are all part of a way of perceiving your reality, your life, your identities. They're yours to decide and perceive. So whenever someone comes at you and they say, hey, you're just a man or just a woman, they're referring to, most often, they're just referring to what they see or hear. So perception matters. For me, I'm not going to change my voice. I'm leaving it just as it is, which is fine. It's just who I am, okay? Get over it. It's fine. I'm not dealing with the voice part. But I want people to understand that whenever we're talking about these different things, we have to understand that people see it from multiple perspectives, or at least they should. They should understand that what they're looking at is just one part of this huge thing that has multiple facets to it, multiple ways of perceiving things. And it doesn't mean they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It also doesn't mean that they're 100% right or that you're 100% right. We have a tendency to crawl back into our shell when we're talking about ourselves. We're talking about gender more often than not. When they talk about us, they're talking about anatomical sex or what they observed at birth or genetic sex. And they deny the fact that there's the possibility the other side can also be true. So that's the reality of it, though. Identities are wrapped up in all kinds of different ways of perceiving things around us. It's very Janusian. You know, Janus, the Roman god of war, multiple faces, every one of them correct, but just different way of perceiving things. And that's what's happening today, folks. We have the right side claiming and demanding that we accept their view of reality on everything and saying that you're delusional if you don't accept this. But what they're doing is they are denying the fact that there is another facet to identity, another facet to reality that they have chosen to ignore deliberately. Now, when somebody approaches you and says something like that, says something like, hey, you're just a man, I can tell by the way you talk, I can tell by the way you carry yourself, or I can tell by how you look, or any of those kind of things. Well, the response would be yes, and that's not the whole story. There's more to it than that. They know that. They're not blind, but they have chosen to observe the world through that lens and that lens only. We have the same problem on the left side of the political spectrum. When we talk about gender, we talk about transgender people or things like that, we are speaking from the side that says it's all about gender and how we perceive ourselves and express ourselves in society and how we have identified. That's still correct. But so is the other side. We cannot go around and just demand that they observe things through our eyes when they can't do it. They don't have the capability of doing that because they don't see it that way. Many on this side also see it as a, you know, we have a complete loss of words sometimes trying to figure out why can't they not see that this is just another way of perceiving reality. We don't know the answer to that, but the response to it is yes, and that's the campaign thing that I've been trying to put together for some number of days now, really, is a campaign that focuses on when you're attacked for who you are from one perspective or the other, one of these two here, either top or bottom perspective, it doesn't matter. What they're doing is, if you look at the bottom one where it says, actually, that's a false dichotomy, that part of the screen. All right, so the top one is not complete, but neither is the bottom, just so you know. So let's say that the people on the right, the people who are claiming that you're just this, a binary description of man and woman, and that's the only thing that it possibly can be. Whenever we hear people talk like that, let's say that they're over here in this green blob, and they're the square in there. And yeah, that's what it feels like. And they're saying, we're right. Can't you tell? Don't you know that we're right? We're absolutely right. And then we're over here in this little pink section that's got the black ball in the middle of it, the black circle in the middle of all that. We're sitting there, we're going, but gender is correct too. Yes, it is. And each side is actually a composite of what the total truth really is, the real part of it. Now, if you look at the bottom, you got the little triangle down the bottom down there. That would be people who claim that neither biology nor gender are important. And there are people who think that and believe that and accept that, and I'm fine with that. That's another way to perceive reality. That's another way to perceive your identities. Vast majority of the people, though, over on the right, they're going to claim that it is all strictly binary. Most are going to do that. How do you diffuse it? Well, say, sure, most are. 99.4%, sure, absolutely are. But I'm also identifying myself as female by gender over on the other side of the spectrum there. This is Janusian. It's multiple facets of the same thing, talking about different ways of perceiving reality. So how did you proceed with a conversation like that? It's a tough thing to do, folks. It really is. Let me see if I can find something else to pull up here at the top. So how do we move forward in a world that is strictly focused on claiming that that we're delusional because we say that this is who we are? Well, you're going to have to just buckle up and deal with it. You're just going to have to say, look, you're entitled to that view. You're entitled to say that kind of thing, and that's fine. And I don't disagree with you. When somebody calls me a man, I know that they're talking about genetic sex. They're not talking about anatomical sex, because there's nothing about me that remains anatomically male except the voice. Nothing. Nothing at all. Gender is certainly not male at all. It's female. So anatomically female, gender is female, but sex, the chromosomal sex, is male. They are stuck on that part of that Januszian way of looking at identities of just that one side. They can't see that there's actually another side. They're all tied together, connected, they're related. They also don't see that they have identities that are multiple too. They just all happen to align with each other. And it makes it hard for them to see that there are people who are different and have been since the beginning of time. Well, I'd say that's probably a stretch. Since man started walking upright out of the savannas of East Africa, whatever, pick a time period. But that's the stuff we are dealing with when we talk about having to have these conversations about gender and transgender people and things like that. We're real. We've been here historically. We've been here forever and ever and ever and ever. You can find us in every culture on earth down through time, period. We've been here. So how do we move forward when one side claims you're delusional and the other side doesn't push back on that and hasn't been doing it? I don't know, folks. That's a big, strong uphill battle right now, given the temper in this country. So I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I do know that we have to find a way to talk with people where they are. We have to admit, we've got to be willing to face the truth of who we really are. You should be able to say, look at somebody. You should be able to say, look, my identity is wrapped up in multiple different ways, multiple different things. Yours is wrapped up in only one. Yours is wrapped up in your genetic sex or your chromosomal sex, what you saw at birth, the doctor saw at birth. You're tied up in that part of it. And I don't deny those things. No way. No way can I deny those things because that's really the truth, right? However, that's not the whole freaking story. It's also gender and gender expression and gender identity and all of those things that do have a biological component to them, but still are more social acculturation than any other thing out there. So that's a lot of what's going on. So we have to deal with that. And I'm seeing a rise in this tempo of anti-trans stuff all over the place over on Twitter and different social platforms. It's getting worse and stronger and more dangerous. But I will tell you, how do you push back against it? Well, do what I'm doing right here where I am right now. I've got family to take care of here. I focus on taking care of them. I go out in the community. I go shopping. I go to the stores and restaurants and all of these kind of things. Do you think for a minute that I'm going to go running into, I don't know, a bathroom that has a label on it that fits my birth sex? Hell no. No. I'd be chased out of there in a hurry. Why the hell would I do that? No, I don't. But here's the other part of it. Nobody cares. I'm in Appalachia, folks. I'm in the hills of eastern Kentucky. Nobody cares. Not a single person has ever said one word to me because I'm going into the places that I belong in. But the other part of that is I'm also not going to go in there in a full freaking beard either. You have to respect the spaces that you're going into. You have to be able to do that. You don't walk in there and you just, pull it out in the middle of the floor or whatever and flop everything all around. Don't do that. Don't go in. If you can't do that, find another place to go. My God, come on. But respect the spaces that you're going into because it is representative of 99.4% of the human population. You're not going to change that. And especially when you go do something stupid out there like that. You go do that, you draw attention to yourself, which puts a bullseye on all of us, which makes every one of us a target for removal to an insane asylum somewhere. Because they will associate what you do with all of us. Now, today, Charlie Kirk received the Presidential Freedom Medal from the President of the United States. Yes, it's a political statement. Yes, that's exactly what it was all about. But he did have a tremendous influence. I disagree with Charlie on every damn thing that he had to do. But that is where we are in this country, and we need to learn how to respect that. Agree or disagree. That's where we are. So we have a president who is supporting them and encouraging them. We have an administration that's tied themselves at the hip to TPUSA, tied themselves at the hip to Hillsdale College. And what's the other one out yonder? There's another college out there that's just nothing but religious propaganda. So that's where we are. So learn how to live in your communities where you are, folks. Learn how to be at peace where you are. Today, I took my brother's red F-150 pickup. It's a manual shift pickup, and it's a really sweet little truck. I mean, it will go. It goes, yeah, whatever you want to call it, it goes. It's an older truck, and went to Lowe's. I go in, I talk to people. I get the orders that we had placed for some lumber and some dog-eared picket fence boards, pickets, 25 bags of quick reach, and get out in the lumber yard, and I'm talking with people out there. Nobody cares. If they do, they sure don't tell me about it. They're just decent human beings trying to do a day's job, okay? They're trying to make a living for their families. They're trying to take care of business. They're not concerned about me or what I'm going to be doing. They're not concerned about you or what you're going to be doing, unless you make a big deal out of it. If you're one of these people who stands in the line in a Lowe's lumber store somewhere, well, for me, I talk to them anyway because I talk to the cashiers and everything, because I go in there and I pull out my military IDs and all this kind of stuff, and I get all the discounts I can get. At 66 years old, I'm looking for all the freaking discounts I can get. Yep, you should be too. Take advantage of everything, every one of them you can. But I do that. It saves the taxes, basically. But so I get the cashiers to look at things. I'm talking with them. They'll say, "Thank you, ma'am, for your service." They're over. Everybody's respectful. I walk down the aisle in there, and this person, one of the Lowe's employees, is pushing a cart of quick read, but not my load, for somebody else, pushing it towards me. And I step aside, and the person pushing it, he goes, "Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it." I get out of the way and go on, and we just smile and carry on and go on. We don't have a big freaking deal about everything. The only people raising a big deal out of it are the Heritage Foundation, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and the knuckleheads over on X. They're the ones making a big deal out of it. They're the ones making our lives more and more difficult, because they are the ones with the voice to influence things at a policy level, at a higher level in this government. They are the ones who can shape what happens in Africa to go after LGBT people across all the different countries there who want to do this. We've got religious leaders in the United States going over there persuading governments in Africa that LGBT people need to be legislated out of existence, and anyone who is, you need to put them in jail and punish them for being that. Yeah, that comes from our side of the fence here in the United States. We have influenced policy around the world from here. With all the bigotry that we have, it has been exported across the planet. Viktor Orban, prime example. Putin, who claims to be Orthodox Christian, Russian Orthodox Christian. In all reality, he's not. He's just an amoral asshole. He's just a KGB agent from way back when. All he is doing is to amass power and stay in power and rebuild the satellite states of the old former Soviet Union. In Hamas, or in Gaza, we're seeing that Hamas is trying to reconstitute itself and to reassert its power there, even after the peace deal had been signed by the president today or yesterday when it was signed in Egypt at oh my God, Sharm el Sheikh, okay, in Egypt. It's a great thing. President Trump did something that is absolutely unimaginable, that could not have been done were it not for him. And you can put feathers on this, you can put lipstick all over it, all that you want to try to make it sound like it was something else, but it would not have happened without Trump. He succeeded where others have failed for 70 years trying to establish peace in the Middle East, in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, and the Palestinian people and the Israelis. As I said on my show earlier today, go check it out, go listen to what I had to say. The ideology that drives the hatred that Hamas has for Israel and the Jewish people goes back thousands of years, more than 3,000 years to be precise. You're not going to stomp it out with a piece of paper or a treaty. And they don't care about their people. They do not care. How many lives are lost in the pursuit of their goal of destroying Israel and Jewish people? If they don't get you today, they will lay the foundation and groundwork to get you tomorrow. They've been going after Israel for thousands of years. I know Islam is not it's not that old, okay? It is not 3,000, it's barely half that. But yet, they picked up on that ideology and turned it into a weapon. Christians have also picked up on it. There are some extreme Christians right here in the United States who have picked up on that anti-Semitism, like Nick Fuentes, who think that we should not be doing anything to help Israel because they blame them for all the ills of the world, just like, some people have done down through history. You're not going to wipe it out like that. A piece of paper won't do it. I'm very glad, very thankful, actually, that other Middle Eastern countries jumped on this and are supposed to help provide the framework to get this resolved. And maybe we can get Hamas out of there. Hamas is a terrorist organization whose goal is only destruction of Israel. And they don't care if it takes 1 million of their own people who lose their lives in that effort. They will consider it a success. They will consider those people who lost their lives in the pursuit of that as martyrs to their cause. You are not going to get rid of it that easily. This thing's older than any culture on earth at this point. This kind of hatred toward another group of people. Hatred because they're different or because they believe differently or they think differently. The seeds of that kind of hatred, we see it in all kinds of different things. Even right here in the United States, over on X, you see the hatred towards trans people. You see the anger towards them. You see the anger towards people of color. It hasn't gone away. It's just been shoved under the rug in some places, and in other places, it's been allowed to come out in the open and just be acknowledged, wide open, folks. So I don't know how you deal with all that, but I do know that what President Trump did to bring an end to the gunfighting, the destruction that was happening right then, to get those hostages released, that's great. I'm glad to see it. I just hope we can figure out a way to keep it and make it stable. Anyway, I'm tired. Let me see if there's anything down here I want to talk about in the comment sections. 100% none of their concern. Yeah, absolutely 100% none of their concern, Jamie. Absolutely, you're right. Israel and Palestine, Hatfields and the McCoys of the Middle East. Yes, they are. Brothers and sisters fighting over the same darn stuff, hating each other for not being the one they think they should have been. Yes, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Well, folks, I'm tired. I moved my day bed, and then I'm here at this house, my brother's house. So I moved my day bed, which was over here, and moved it into my mom's room because somebody has to be there to make sure that she doesn't stumble out of the bed and get hurt in the middle of the night. and make sure she gets back to bed safely. So that's changing the dynamic about how I deal with stuff here in the house quite a bit. But these are things. This is why it's important for us to be real where we are. Everyone knows who I am here, and I don't care. They use all kinds of different ways to describe me. That's perfectly fine too. Doesn't matter. I know they see things from the perspective of genes and genetics, and they don't claim that. They just think they're the only ones that's right, and everybody else is delusional. But we have the same problem over on our side too, don't we? Yeah, we do. We sure do. We sure as heck do. I need to get off here. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to try to do some more work on adapting these different perspective taking things, because we need to start